What if the Earth rotated 90 degrees? It was a quiet morning in New York City when Dr. Lena Graves received a strange alert on her geological monitoring system. At first, she thought it was a glitch, magnetic field anomalies, ocean current reversals, seismic irregularities, but as she cross-checked with satellite data, her heart sank. The unthinkable was happening. Earth's axis was shifting, fast. Not the slow, imperceptible wobble scientists usually monitor over centuries. This was sudden, catastrophic. Earth was tilting on its side 90 degrees. Within days, global headlines screamed panic. The axis tilt meant one thing: Earth's poles were moving to the equator, and the equator to the poles. A complete planetary transformation, and no one was ready. For billions of years, Earth had rotated with a slight tilt of 23.5 degrees, giving us seasons and a climate we adapted to, but a 90-degree tilt? The implications were mind-bending. It was as if someone had taken a spinning globe and twisted it sideways. In a world turned sideways, geography lost its meaning. The North Pole now sat where the equator once was, somewhere in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Antarctica drifted toward what used to be Canada. The equator wrapped itself around the poles, creating a belt of scorching heat where the Arctic tundra once lay. The first shock came from the sun. Now, Earth's rotation meant one hemisphere faced the sun for 6 months straight, while the other was plunged into darkness for the same amount of time. The concept of day and night dissolved into seasons of blinding light and endless night. Cities in former mid-latitudes faced their worst nightmares. New York, Paris, Beijing, all now located in regions with 6 months of darkness and cold followed by 6 months of intense heat. Crops failed, power grids collapsed, the natural rhythm of life was shattered. In the sunlit hemisphere, relentless solar radiation scorched the land. Deserts expanded, ice caps melted into vast, rising oceans. The ocean currents, driven by temperature differences between poles and equator, stopped functioning normally. The Gulf Stream vanished. El Niño and La Niña became irrelevant as new chaotic patterns emerged. Hurricanes formed in places that had never known wind. Meanwhile, on the dark side, the absence of sunlight turned forests to frostbitten wastelands. Temperatures dropped to lethal lows. Cities became ghost towns, their citizens fleeing toward the narrow twilight zones near the equator, now the only survivable belt where the sun grazed the horizon in an eternal dusk. Lena and a coalition of scientists raced against time. Massive geoengineering projects began: artificial suns for agriculture in dark zones, massive cooling towers to regulate heat in scorched lands. Space agencies launched mirrors into orbit to redirect sunlight, but resources were limited, and nations that once competed were forced to cooperate. Survival had no borders now. The animal kingdom suffered even more. Migration patterns disintegrated. Birds flew in circles, confused. Whales beached themselves in strange waters. Insects and pollinators died in swarms, throwing ecosystems into collapse. With them went the food chain. But humans adapted, as they always have. A century after the tilt, new civilizations rose along the equatorial twilight belt. Megacities grew in what used to be Central Africa, Indonesia, and parts of South America, regions that now formed the most habitable strip of Earth. Here, the sun hovered low in the sky year-round, giving just enough warmth and light without extreme conditions. Architecture changed. Cities were built underground or beneath reflective domes to shield from radiation or preserve heat. AI and robotics replaced much of the outdoor labor. Entire generations grew up never seeing stars or knowing the meaning of a summer vacation. Lena, now old and watching the world she helped stabilize, stood in one of the twilight cities, New Nairobi, a glittering metropolis stretching across what used to be the equator. The air was warm, humid, but breathable. Artificial sky domes glowed with soft blue hues. Children played in temperature-controlled parks. Vertical farms towered above the streets, humming with life. She remembered the chaos, the fear, the endless debates about how or why the tilt happened, whether it was a rogue planetary body, a magnetic event, or something humanity had triggered by meddling too much with the environment. The cause was still debated, but what mattered now was the lesson. Earth was never meant to be taken for granted. Its balance, so delicate, so precise, was the result of cosmic fortune, and when that balance was lost, everything changed. Still, humans survived, not as they were, but as something new, a species no longer divided by nations, but united by adaptation. They looked at the sky differently now, not with expectation, but with awe and caution, because they knew now, more than ever, that the planet beneath their feet could shift at any moment, and when it did, everything would turn sideways again.